The journey of Fukuju sake starts in the shadows of the Roko Mountains, where the unique environment allows for the cultivation of a particular type of rice perfect for sake. When the rice arrives at the Fukuju brewery, it must be cleaned. Rice for premium sake is washed by hand in small batches so the amount of moisture absorbed by the grains can be closely controlled. When the water runs clear, it's time to move the rice to another tub of water to soak. These grains have been milled down to remove more of the starch and produce a cleaner flavor. When the rice has soaked for exactly the right amount of time, it's moved to a vacuum machine that will suck out any remaining moisture before being weighed and set aside for brewing. The rest of the rice is washed automatically before being pumped to a holding tank where it too can soak. The sake brewer, or kurobito, uses a colander to diffuse the water so it is gentler on the grains. When the rice is done soaking, it's moved by a conveyor belt to the steaming vats. These vats can steam up to 500 pounds of rice at one time. After the rice has cooked, it must be cooled before it can be used in the brewing process. Another conveyor belt carries the steaming rice through a cooling machine. Before it enters the machine, however, more kurobito tests the rice for flavor and consistency. This rice has passed through the cooling machine and is just about the right temperature. It's carried by hand in canvas cloths to the most important room in the brewery, the koji room. Koji is a fungus that, when applied to rice, consumes the starch and leaves behind sugar, allowing the rice to be fermented. Without koji, sake brewing would not be possible. Kurobito break down the rice to increase the surface area and help it cool further. It's then covered with cloth to help control the loss of moisture. As the one kurobito prepares to apply the koji spores, the rest move to the other end of the room so as not to disturb the air. Each application of the spores is done with incredible care and concentration. After koji has been applied, the rice is wrapped in more blankets to control the temperature and humidity. This is a vital stage in the sake making process, so great care is taken in making sure the rice is nice and cozy. Obviously, that means it takes some time to remove all the blankets when the rice is ready for the next step. The rice is scooped into a machine that quickly breaks up the larger clumps, giving the koji more room to grow. It's then transferred to shallow wooden boxes to allow airflow. The furrows on top help to control the temperature. After the sake has converted the appropriate amount of starch into sugar, the rice is transferred to a container near the sake to be used at various stages of the brewing process. Before going through the cooling machine, some of the rice is taken away to be used in the yeast starter. This mixture has the yeast in it that converts the sugar in the koji rice into alcohol and will be the foundation to the rest of the sake. Ice is added to make sure it's not too hot for the yeast. The last of the rice is transported by air pump to the fermentation tank where it's added directly to the fermenting sake for extra flavor. When the sake is done fermenting, it's pumped into a large hydraulic press that pushes it through fabric to separate the sake from the solids, or mash. The mash is then collected and sold or used in sakabayashi. the Fukuju restaurant for soups and stews. Premium sake is handled a little differently. The fermented sake is pumped into a large container and ladled by hand into cloth bags. The bags are then hung in another tank and gravity pulls the pure sake through the cloth into the bottom. The first sake to be drained still contains some of the mash, but soon it runs clear and you're left with high-quality sake, approved by Fukuju CEO Yasafuku-san himself. Once the sake is separated from the mash, it goes to the bottling facility to be put in Fukuju's iconic blue bottles. Conveyor belts move the bottles along and machines screw on the caps, but each bottle is inspected individually before being boxed and shipped around the world. World-class food and sake aren't the only reasons to visit Fukuju Brewery. Many of the friendliest and most hospitable people you'll meet work here, and they always welcome new guests.
Yosho! 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 Thank you for watching!